Again, thank you everyone for joining. People are still coming in, so we're just going to wait about a minute or two before getting started. Thank you everyone for joining. We have about a minute left for everyone to join in, and we will get started. You are in the right place, and your computer is working. Alrighty, everyone. I think we have a critical mass of people in. I will likely have to repeat the instructions. I'll do a truncated version a little bit later on. But I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to participate in Congressman Garamendi's town hall tonight. Due to the incredible engagement we had last week, Congressman Garamendi decided to hold another town hall tonight, just 1 week later. If you would like to ask Congressman Garamendi a question, please submit them in the Q&A box. Tonight, we will be alternating between unmuting participants to ask questions and me reading them. If you would like me to read your question, please write read before your question. Once again, write the word read before your question. If you would like to ask Congressman Garamendi the question live, please write live before your question. Once again, the word live before your question. If we can get to your live question, I will introduce your name and you will receive a prompt from Zoom to unmute your mic. Please click that prompt and keep your question under 3 sentences so we can get through as many questions as possible. We will try to answer as many questions as we can, but if we did not address your question, please go to garamendi.house.gov/contact and submit it there for a response. This and many other links will be provided to all participants in the chat. You can also call any of our offices to record your comments with a member of our staff. We are also collecting stories about Trump's actions and how they negatively impact people's lives. If you or someone you know has been personally affected, please share your stories at the link in the chat that says stories. We are gathering as many stories as possible to draw attention to the harm caused by the Trump-Musk administration. To make sure you are up to date with information from our office, please ensure that you follow the Congressman across all of his media platforms, including the Congressman's weekly e-newsletter, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky. Links to all of these platforms will be, you guessed it, in the chat. In addition, this town hall will be posted in its entirety on the Congressman's YouTube account tomorrow if you'd like to share with others. Also in the chat, you will find links to services the Congressman provides to his constituents, such as assistance receiving benefits from federal agencies. Please know our office is here to help. We appreciate your time and we want to hear from you. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Congressman John Garamendi for some short opening remarks.
Thank you, Bradley. I was trying to follow all of those instructions. I think I have them down. I want to welcome everybody to this video town hall. Thank you so very much for joining us. I don't know about you, but I am just plain mad. I am angered. I am really, really upset about what Trump and Musk are doing to America, not just to the government, but to America, to all of us. Over 340 million Americans are under assault by Trump and Musk. It is outrageous. I have worked with presidents going back to Jimmy Carter, all of those presidents, Reagan, the Bushes, the Democrats, not enough of them, but all of them. They had a sense of what they wanted to do, and they did it. Sometimes I found myself in opposition to them. Sometimes I was supporting what they were doing. But over the years, never, ever, never did a president try to set about to destroy not only programs that people need to survive and to thrive here in America, but also to do serious, serious harm to our democracy. So we're going to have a very interesting evening this evening. If you're as mad as I am, I want to hear from you. If you happen to be one of those who support Trump, I want to hear from you also. And I'd love to hear why you think this is the right thing to do. I don't. I've been around a long time. I've been in good times. I've been in bad times. I've been in recessions. I've been in economic booms. But never have I seen a president purposely set out to destroy programs and institutions that are critical to the survival of individuals, to the healthcare of individuals, to families, and to our parents and to our seniors. I got a call from one of my dear friends, and she said, John, they couldn't do away with Medicare or Medi-Cal as we know in California. They're not going to do that, are they? And I said, you bet they're going to try to do away with Medi-Cal. She said, but my mother's in a home care situation, and she's relying upon that lady coming to her home to take care of her. Will that survive? And I say, if they are successful in doing away with Medicaid at the national level, then probably your mother's home care will not be available to her. Well, here we go. I want to hear from you. There's a lot of things out there that I want to share with you, and I will as you put your questions forward. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for wanting to learn more about what is happening in the federal government and how it will affect you. Bradley, let's get started.
Thank you, Congressman. And we had a few more people join us. So just a reminder to those new folks, if you'd like to ask a question, please put them in the Q&A box. If you'd like me to read them, put the word read ahead of it. If you'd like to ask them live, put the word live before your question, and we will get you live. We're going to try to do a live question first, and that's with Anastasia F. Anastasia, you should be getting a prompt now. Anastasia, are you with us?
Hello, Anastasia. You got to hit your mute button.
It might be Anastasia.
There it is.
There we go. Sorry.
Okay, very good. Hi, I'm just wondering what you're doing to support the release of Mahmoud Khalil.
Well, I've joined in with other members of the Congress, all Democrats, to send off a letter and to do what we can verbally, and also to really do what you're doing, and that is to petition the government. We have a little more power. If we had 4 more votes, we'd have all the power we need to put an end to it. But he should be released. He should be able to have the First Amendment's, the rights of the to a hearing, and then go from there. Good question, obviously on all of our minds, but he's not the only one. And here's why we need to stand up for him, because he is an example of what this administration is doing. Basically, ignoring the law, ignoring the constitutional protections that all citizens, in fact, all people in this country have to a hearing. And that's, he didn't get, he should have that.
Thank you, Congressman. And we're going to read a question from Dennis R. Dennis R. asks, what can individuals do to slow or halt implementation of Project 2025?
Well, Project 2025 is in full effect now. It is basically the dismantling of the American government. And most important, it puts at risk our very democracy. because much of what Trump is doing is beyond the law and beyond the Constitution. In other words, not constitutional. If he's allowed to get away with it, there is a very serious problem about being able to maintain our democracy. And so what we need to do is to fight back on every front. Project 25 includes not only the dismantling of every single government agency, it also is the usurpation of power by the presidency over the Congress. Give you one example. We always appropriate money for probably 1,000 different projects that the government undertakes. Clearly, all of the military, over $800 billion is appropriated line by line, item by item, for the Air Force, for the Marines, for specific programs, for each of those. What we are now finding is that Trump is ignoring those appropriations and moving money wherever he wants to move it. And a lot of this has been done in the continuing resolution, which continues to fund the government for the next 6 to 7 months until the end of September. That resolution gives Trump additional authority to move money wherever he may want to do it. So that's the appropriation process. But he's also dismantling agencies, Department of Education, Veterans Affairs, Labor Department, EPA, which are authorized by law. And he has no power to dismantle them. But he is moving to do that. If he's allowed to do that, he will bring to himself dictatorial power. And that's where the Constitution is at risk.
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to try another live question from Chris M. Chris, you should have a prompt to unmute and go ahead and ask a question to the Congressman.
Hi, Congressman. Can you give us an update on what is happening with NIH funding, specifically to California universities?
Excellent question. Thank you. This is critically important for today and for tomorrow. The greatest research institutions in the world are in California. Most of them are associated with the University of California, the campus at Berkeley, UCSF, Davis are examples here in Northern California. Other institutions such as Stanford and some of the universities in the Bay Area, including state universities, are receiving money from the National Institute of Health, NIH, and the National Science Foundation. What we're finding is that Trump is going after those research programs in two different ways. One, he is pulling back grants that have been granted to those universities, and he is also changing the way in which the universities are able to support those programs. About 25% of the money in those grants is for the institution itself. These are for the buildings, the facilities, the various instruments and research that is necessary in the laboratory. The rest goes to the researchers and those who are associated with the research. By cutting the amount of money that the institution has to support the researchers, it will decimate many of the programs. And of course, going forward, grant programs are going to be reduced for all kinds of things, energy, healthcare, research on various cancer programs, and the like. So we're seeing a fundamental shifting and reduction in research. I'm going to tell you, for California, there are 5 things that make California an extraordinarily successful state. First of all, the greatest education system in the world. Unfortunately, that no longer exists in K through 12. We've got to rebuild that. So the Department of Education becomes extremely important. Secondly, research. The research that creates the opportunities for solving problems, healthcare problems, energy problems, climate, and the like. Also, those are the new endeavors for tomorrow. Those are where we build the future economy, and California's been extraordinarily successful at doing that over the years. We need the infrastructure, the streets, the roads, the sanitation systems, as well as the universities themselves. That is being cut. And we need to pay attention to making sure that our workforce is in play and that they're capable. And therefore, one of the very important things is the what we call the PRO Act. And this is supporting the labor organizations, which have the apprenticeship programs and train people to do the jobs in a high-tech society. And finally, we need to pay attention internationally. Those are the 5 things. They've been my watchwords for more than 30 years now. And right now, at the research and the education are under attack by the Trump administration.
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to try to go live again, and excuse my pronunciation if I get this wrong. I believe it's Pasha Brown. Pasha, you should have a prompt. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Oh, hi. I was just wondering if you can talk a little bit more about what's going on with Social Security cuts.
I'll be happy to do so. Before I start that, I want to ask each and every one of you to give us an example of the worst thing you have come across. And it may very well, in the days ahead, be Social Security or the Medi-Cal programs in California, people being thrown off the Medi-Cal programs as the federal funding shifts, as well as the Social Security. We do know that they are reducing the staff at the Social Security Administration. And that is going to create a serious problem for people wanting to get information, wanting to go on Social Security, or have a that may already be on the supplemental Social Security program. Those are the disabled people in our society. And so we know that Musk has already targeted Social Security. In the days ahead, we expect the Trump-Musk wrecking ball or chainsaw to go after Social Security. We know that they have lined up the Medicaid program. We know it is Medi-Cal here in California, and that's for disabled people. That's for children. We have some 40,000 children in my district on the Medi-Cal program, and twice that many, over 100,000 seniors, as well as people of low income or have no income on the Medi-Cal program, over 100,000 people there. So this is actually it's closer to 300,000. And so we know that they're going to go after these programs. On Medicaid, we call it Medi-Cal in California, they intend to take $800 billion out of the Medicaid program to finance the tax cuts for the super wealthy. And so middle income and low income people will be paying for the tax cuts, $4 trillion tax cuts to the top 10% of the wage earners in California. We've got a different plan. Democrats have a different plan, and it's hell no. We're not going to go for that. We're not going to take money away from people that are receiving health care benefits through the Medi-Cal program so that the super wealthy can have a continuation of the tax break that they have been given in the first Trump administration. Similarly, when it comes to Social Security, it'll be the same fight. So this is what it's all about. Tax cuts for the super wealthy, financed by taking away health care for the working men and women and their families here in California and across the nation.
Thank you, Congressman. And I believe I see a very familiar name who will be next. Just wanted to remind folks, because I know we have new people joining, if you want to ask a question to the Congressman, please put in the Q&A box. And if you'd like me to read it, put the word read before. If you'd like to ask him live, put the word live before. The familiar name, I believe, is County Supervisor, Solano County Supervisor Monica Brown. Monica, I think you should be unmuted.
Hello, Monica. Keep it short.
John, I will. I'm very concerned about our kids at school not having the money for free lunch and free breakfast. I read that there might be a discontinuation of that. I was wondering if you knew anything.
Well, I know that we need to be aware this is coming. We know that the Department of Agriculture is being cut back, the staff is being cut back, and the programs. And it appears as though they are targeting those programs that, through the Department of Agriculture, that provide surplus commodities for the lunch programs and the breakfast programs. And so that is one of the ways in which we will see a retreat in those school lunch and breakfast programs. You know, as a teacher, and thank you for being a teacher for, well, we won't put the number of years up there, but for a good long time, and now a county supervisor, you know how important it is. You know that a kid that is hungry in the classroom is not really able to pay attention. And unfortunately, the breakfast programs and the lunch programs are on the target list. And that takes us back to Project 2025. First of all, we see it through the Department of Agriculture and the food programs that are made available there. And now with the dismantling of the Department of Education, the same thing. And so it's going to be a full-on assault going forward on those programs. And there's much, much more. And you know these programs so very well. The Title I is for the disabled. That's likely to be diminished. We're already seeing a pullback of those who are disabled and in need of special needs programs. So this is a full-on assault on the education as well as on the food programs. Monica, thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing for the county, representative in Solano County. And I love working with you.
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you, Supervisor. We're going in a second to go live to James Ransford, but first I'm going to read a question from Judith B. Judith B. asks, how can we protect the national parks?
Oh my, this is personal. In the 1990s, President Clinton appointed me number 2 in the Department of Interior. The national parks were one of the major programs that I was working on at that time. Also the Bureau of Land Management, on and on. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, how could you even think about? Musk, do you have any idea? I know you run around in your private jet, you go around the world and everything else, but have you ever visited one of our national parks? And Trump the same. When was the last time you visited one of our national parks and see the joy that visitors from around the nation find in our national parks? And already they're cutting back on the staff at the national park. The part-time hiring was underway, and that was stopped. And so we're going to find national parks across this country that are going to be closed. On Friday, I'm going to be visiting the Rosie the Riveter National Park in Richmond, California. Those programs are likely to be limited and maybe not even opened. So you go, come on, why? For what reason are you doing this? Because you want to take a chainsaw to the federal government? Do you have any idea? Or are you just being stupid? I think they're just being stupid. So this is something that will play out in the days ahead as the personnel for the national parks are reduced, as the summer hires and seasonal hirings do not take place. The people that will explain what it is all about at the Rosie the Riveter National Park and over at the China Basin. This is ongoing. Yeah, I'm mad. I am really, really mad because this is something I worked on for years to try to build up, not only as the deputy secretary overseeing the national parks, but also in Congress and beyond. So hang on, we're going to have a fight on our hands. Can we overcome it? The lawsuits by our lawyers that are out there, by individuals, that will be helpful. It may be able to push back on some of these cuts that are taken that are contrary to the appropriation laws as well as to the authority of the Congress to appropriate money and to see these programs maintained. Let's take another question.
Thank you, sir. As I mentioned, we're going to go to James Ransfer, and then on deck we have Paris Brown. James, you should be unmuted.
Thank you. And my question is, if the VA is not going to be an entity any longer, we're going to have some real problems. My counselor, my VA PTSD counselor, is worried about losing her job. So then if that happens, what happens to me and thousands of other veterans with PTSD? How do we get care for it?
The answer is blowing in the wind. If they are successful in eliminating 83,000 jobs at the VA, that includes not only the people that are answering the phones, bringing new veterans into the system. In our county, we have 4,000 veterans that are going to be able to receive services from the VA as a result of the PACT Act, which basically says if you served and had exposure to any of a number of chemicals, you are automatically qualified to receive benefits. Now, you have a very special situation, PTSD, and you require to be able to deal with that very onerous problem that you acquired while you were serving somewhere, probably Afghanistan, maybe even going back as far as Vietnam. You need help every day. I want to give you an example of what we did about 2 weeks ago. We received information from a couple of people at the David Grant Medical Center in Fairfield, right associated with Travis Air Force Base, that doctors and nurses that were providing services, PTSD services, and other services to veterans, as well as active duty and reserve personnel, that they were going to be sent to Guantanamo, Cuba, and hollowing out the ability for David Grant to provide services to active duty, reserve, as well as veterans. I immediately jumped on this, raised hell at the Department of Defense, asking and telling them that as the ranking member and former chairman of the Readiness Subcommittee, which is responsible for the ongoing services for active duty, we got the Department of Defense all energized, saying, how are you going to care for your men and women that are providing active duty and reserve services now, and also taking that to the veterans? Fortunately, strong letter to follow, strong phone calls, and the good news was that they reversed that program of taking personnel, medical personnel, and support personnel from the David Grant and sending them to Cuba. It turns out that Cuba is not a very good place for anybody to be, but we were able to reverse it because we had information. And I'm asking any and all of you out there to share your horror story with us so that we know. Now, we do not know, James, if your PTSD services will be cut or not. But the fact that you are concerned increases your anxiety, and quite probably your condition has gone, well, from positive to negative. So share with us, any of you that want to share your concerns specifically. You've lost your job. You're not getting services. Nobody's answering the phone. In education, in labor, wherever you may be interacting with the federal government, share your story with us. We heard from 3 different people about the David Grant problem. And I was able to do something about that because somebody told me what the problem was. Share your story with us. Bradley, let's take another question.
Thank you, Congressman. As a reminder to share your stories with us, there is a link in the chat that says share your stories. Sir, next we're going to another live question from Paris Brown. Paris, you should be getting a prompt. Go ahead and click unmute and ask your question to the Congressman.
Thank you. Good evening. So my question relates back to our children at school. I did have a concern about the kids having meals, having lunch and things like that, but mine is bullying at school. What are we doing to help our kids that are being bullied at school when the principal is not doing anything? So yeah, I'm just so disturbed with that.
Well, you ought to be. And that is, all of us have seen us. I suspect most everybody on this call is no longer in school, but we've experienced bullying. Some personal, have been bullied. Others of us have seen it, and we've seen the effect of it. Now, the general reduction in the dismantling and the reduction in programs that the federal government has made available to school districts across this nation, and specifically in California, does include programs that deal with kids acting out, including bullying. There are 10 different program areas in the Department of Education. Every one of them will see a reduction as a result of the unconstitutional reduction in the funding programs that now exist at the Department of Education. As the Department of Education is dismantled, as staff is eliminated, and as personnel are fired, the programs that provide specific money to schools across this nation, including California, that deal with the problems of bullying and other kinds of bad acting at schools will be reduced and, according to the Secretary of Education, eliminated. And this is what Trump says when this is a problem for the states. Indeed, it is. It is a problem for California. And California has specific programs funded by the state government to deal with these kinds of inappropriate and unlawful activities at schools. The federal government supports those programs also. The reduction and probably the elimination of the federal support will have a significant problem on bullying and the ability of schools to deal with it. Specifically, training programs for administration and others in our school system. So we're seeing the hollowing out of these support at the federal level, and that'll put enormous pressure on the state of California to backfill. Now, we don't know if there will be broad grants to the states. Trump talks about it, but what is happening is a general reduction in the funding by all federal government programs. So I'm not hopeful. Thank you for your question. Extremely important.
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to try to go, and I'm sorry I didn't preview her ahead of time. Rosalind Roberts, you should be getting a prompt right now.
Hello, this is City Councilwoman Gordon.
Oh, we'll go to you then. Sorry, Councilwoman Gordon, go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. First, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. I have concerns about our students and individuals who are affected by the DEI. They're worried about, a lot of them have already been pushed out of their jobs, employment, And so there is a big fear for that. And then also I had questions asked about me. Has there been any consideration of impeaching our current administrators? This is not something I'm asking, but this has been a big question here. And also, can you help us get funding for our sheriff support here in Vallejo? As you know, we are needing and in dire need of help. And I would like to have a sit-down conversation with you, sir.
Well, the last question, we will be in Vallejo. The mayor is setting up a program. So we'll be doing that in, I don't know, hopefully within the next month, maybe a little longer. With regard to the questions that you raised, the federal funding for most of those programs is being reduced in two different ways. First of all, Trump unconstitutionally is blocking the funding for a whole variety of programs. He has no authority to do that. Under a Supreme Court decision that dates back about 40 years now, the president cannot constitutionally block funding for any program. He is required by law to effectively carry out the law, which means spend the money. However, he's not doing that. That's one of the unconstitutional actions that he's taking, and it will have a specific effect on programs that you just talked about. I want to go to one of those programs that is in jeopardy, and this is the program the federal government does support local police departments. And I have worked diligently with Vallejo, as well as the other communities that I've had the pleasure representative in my previous district, as well as in my current district, to bring money to support the police functions. There's also another program for firefighting, and that program is in serious jeopardy, as is the specific program for supporting local police departments. And certainly Vallejo is in desperate need for that kind of federal assistance, as well as state assistance. Vallejo is a very unique problem. In 1990, there were 30,000 people employed at Mare Island. It shut down. 30,000 jobs gone. And Vallejo has gone through 2 bankruptcies as a specific result of that shutdown of Mare Island. Now we're trying to rebuild Mare Island, and I don't have time to go into it right now, but we're trying and having some success in bringing the Navy and the Coast Guard back to Mare Island at the dry docks there, and several other programs to rebuild that economic base that Vallejo and the surrounding communities once had. Now, the other programs that you talked about are also in jeopardy. And this is why all of us need to push back. I would ask you to send to me, at our office there in Vallejo, specific problems that you are now incurring as a result of the shifting of money or the unconstitutional withholding of money by the Trump administration. And it may be not only in policing and in firefighting, but also in programs having to do with the social programs, the welfare programs, and the like, all of which are under assault. If the Republicans and Trump carry out their $800 billion reduction in the Medi-Cal program, there's going to be a very, very serious impact on the healthcare services in Vallejo and really across California and this nation. So we got to pay attention. This is the next fight that we're going to have in Washington, D.C. As the Republicans try to run the table. So, buckle up. We've got to carry this to a successful conclusion. No, you cannot give billionaire tax cuts and fund it by reducing the funding for the men, women, and children who are desperately needed that money to get their health care services. I look forward to being with you in Vallejo at that meeting that the mayor is putting together.
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you, Councilwoman, for joining us. Next, we have Rosalind Roberts, and then we're going to go to Elizabeth Durr. Rosalind, you should be live.
I am live. Happy. Good evening. I am just concerned that what I'm hearing is about all of what he's going to do, what's happening, what we're going to lose, what people are suffering. What is the Democrats' plan? Yes, we can send you letters. Yes, we can call your offices, but have you guys collectively gotten together to figure out how to combat this illegal stuff that the Trump and the Republicans are doing? Isn't there a plan, any kind of plan to fight back other than what we're just for us to call and fight?
Yes, absolutely. We're preparing and actually carrying out at least 3 different defenses and 1 major offense. So let me go through them. First of all, we put together in the House of Representatives, Democrats have put together a group that is supporting the lawsuits, many of which have been successful. And so we're providing information, we're providing legal assistance, and where it is appropriate, we are providing amicus briefs to the court. Those lawsuits have been largely successful in stopping, at least temporarily. They will be appealed, and we'll see what happens. Probably some of these will go all the way to the Supreme Court. We hope to be successful. That's one. Secondly, we are reaching out across the nation in our districts, doing exactly what I'm doing here. That is rallying the opposition. Now, I suspect you're the opposition, and from what I've heard on the questions thus far, I've not heard anybody supporting Trump. Maybe I will before this town hall is over. But the opposition, yes, send me the specific problems that you are having. For example, the David Grant doctors and nurses being sent off to Cuba. We need those. We'll use those. We're doing social media. We'll put that out on social media. And here's what I want you to do. Yeah, contact my office. But you have friends in those districts represented by Republicans. Get your friends to call their representative or their senator. You must have a, I don't know, do you have a relative in Topeka, Kansas? There are 2 Republican senators representing Kansas. They need to hear from your relatives. So reach out across the nation, encourage your friends, your relatives to do what you're doing. Get on the town halls and contact their representatives wherever that may be across this nation and in California. I will be doing town halls in neighboring districts. Hello, Representative LaMaffa. You and I have worked together on many, many projects when I represented the Sacramento Valley. But you've got to speak out. Don't just line up and be a Trumpian. Care for your district. So I'll be doing a town hall in your district and in McClintock's district and in Kylie's district because they don't want to do their town halls. They want to hide. So you do your piece. You reach out across this nation and across the state of California to Republican districts. The third thing is an offense. Now, we have many bills that we have introduced, and taken as a whole, this is an offensive movement. This is where we will put forth a program for the working men and women of America and in our district and in California. It's tax policy. We want to continue the tax cuts for the working men and women, those who are making husband and wife less than $400,000. They deserve a tax break. We also want to continue the refundable tax credit for working men and women who have had a baby. First year, $6,000 to help support their that particularly difficult and beautiful time of life so that they can get the necessary services so they can continue work. This is where we want to go on tax policy. We also have a program on housing, and I'm carrying this. There's a program that hopefully HUD will continue to exist, but it is a positive program. It expands the home program, which provides vouchers for people that are low income, that need rental assistance. We want to build more housing. And so it's a program to increase support for the construction of low and moderate income housing in my district and across America. It's called the Home Act. And we're going to push that very, very hard. We also have a program to build our industrial base. It's called the SHIPS Act. I'm working with two senators, one Republican, Young, one Democrat, Mark Kelly out of Arizona, and one Republican, Trent Kelly, in the House of Representatives. And this is the SHIPS Act. It's to rebuild our maritime program, extremely important in my district. Richmond used to be, well, where Rosie the Riveter built ships. I've already talked about Mare Island and the work we're doing there to rebuild the maritime industry there, and much, much more. So these are three different new programs that we want to put forward. And my colleagues across the nation are developing similar programs. This is the Democratic program for the future. We're going to build the education system. We're going to fight for research at our universities. We're going to make sure that people can afford to go to higher education. We want to make sure that the working men and women of America are our focus, and our programs are specifically designed to advance the well-being of the working men and women, the middle class of America. And no, I'm sorry, Musk, you will not get an additional tax break. You've had quite enough. And all of those oligarchs that stood behind the president when he gave his inaugural and took the oath of office, it was the most disgusting thing I've seen in the many, many years I've watched presidents take the oath of office. Never, never have I seen the super wealthy stand in front of the new cabinet members, which, by the way, are terrible in and of themselves. We cannot allow the oligarchs to do what has happened in Russia, and that is to get even more wealthy, to corner more of the American economy. No, hell no, we're not going to let that happen. Let me take a deep breath. I got to cool off here.
Thank you, Congressman. And I will just tell you, we only have about 10 minutes left. But as a reminder to people, you can either submit your questions in the Q&A box, write live if you would like to ask live to the congressman, write read if you'd like me to read your question. And if you just want to submit something to our office, you can find that link in the chat, garamendi.house.gov/contact, or you can call any of our offices and you'll get a person to answer live and in real time, just like me. Sir, next we're going to go to Elizabeth Durr. Elizabeth, you should be live.
Okay. Three questions. One, what kind of accountability will Donald Trump and Elon Musk face? Two, will Congress have them go before them? And three, why do the super rich need more money or tax cuts?
Well, the latter one, I'll just roll off what I said a moment ago. The super wealthy don't need more of our wealth. Economists that study the societies around the world have identified America as one of the most economically unequal societies in the world. Our wealthy are super wealthy. And no, they do not need a new tax break. They need to pay their fair share. And by the way, that also involves very major American corporations, many of whom have not paid a nickel of corporate tax for more than 2 decades. And that's one of the things we need to address. Biden and the Democrats addressed that partially with legislation back in 2022. So that's part of it. The unequal economic reality of America has become a very serious problem. Democrats are going to address that. Part of what I just talked about. My farmers would tell me, don't plow the same field twice, so I'm going to move on. The other question that you asked about, I think I missed it. Bradley, help me here. What was the first two questions?
Her questions were, what kind of accountability will Trump and Musk face? Will Congress have them go before them? And why do billionaires need more money?
Well, I've taken the last of the three questions. The accountability for Trump has been significantly diminished by a Supreme Court decision that basically says he is immune from judicial review while he is acting as president. Now, that's where we are. The only way that we could do anything would be to impeach him. Now, Trump was impeached twice. And I know that there are some Republicans that wish they had voted for the impeachment resolution that the House put forward. Had that happened, and it was a very close vote, had they voted to sustain the impeachment, Trump could not run for office. That was his first endeavor. Now, if we are successful in taking back the House of Representatives, we will be able to call before our committees with subpoenas any number of people in the Trump administration. And if warranted, we could once again put forth an impeachment resolution, as we did when we controlled the House of Representatives in the 2019 and 2020. So that's where we are. The Republicans are not likely to call before the committees in any meaningful way the people in the Trump administration, and not likely to call Musk before a hearing. We take back the House, guaranteed there will be a subpoena for Musk and for others that are breaking the law and acting contrary to the Constitution. That's why it's extremely important that you understand what we are doing, both in defense, that is taking on wherever we can, as I did with the movement of medical personnel from the David Grant to Cuba. We will continue to do that. However, we have to pay attention to the midterm elections, which are less than 18 months away. So, those of you that are out there, pay attention. There are many, many ways you can get involved politically beyond attending various town halls. There are, well, first of all, if you're not registered to vote, register to vote. If your family is not registered to vote, register to vote. And pay attention to the Bill of Rights, which gives you the power to petition the government and to participate in the elections. Do not sit out the next election, and pay attention to the elections that are taking place in the interim period before 2026. I think we got them all there. Thank you. Next question.
Covered them all. Thank you, sir. And we have a couple to read, and we're in the last couple of minutes, so I'm going to try to go quickly. Combining them, a few of them together. Melinda P. asked, generally, what are you doing to protect the lives of trans people? And then Francis S. asked, what are you doing to help protect trans service members?
Yeah, very, very important. And this is not only the trans, but just the general DEI efforts that are underway. With those who are in the military, I have a very specific obligation and opportunity. I am the ranking member of the Readiness Subcommittee, and we have responsibility for all of the service members and all of the reserve. And so hopefully the chairman of my committee, the Readiness Subcommittee, Jack Bergman out of Michigan, out of Michigan. Hopefully he'll take up this issue, and we will have a hearing on what is taking place. I think it is absolutely foolish, wrong, and unconscionable for what is happening within the military for trans people. They're simply being thrown out of the military now, and new folks that would want to join will not be able to do so. We're also seeing this in a much broader way with the DEI, purging from the military any mention of race, any mention of women, even the Tuskegee Airmen in World War II, the African American airmen that were extraordinary. They're being purged from the websites. And what that means is that women, minorities are finding an unfriendly Department of Defense. And this is going to be a profoundly important problem for our national security. We depend upon trans people in the military doing extraordinarily important work. We depend upon women. We depend upon minorities. Oh my God, 53% of the American population are women. And what we're finding in the Department of Defense and across other agencies, they're not welcome. And similarly with minorities of every kind. One more question, Bradley.
So I'm going to put two very unrelated ones together just because we have a lot of them in the chat. So one was, how are you continuing to put pressure on Israel for breaking the ceasefire? And then, do you agree with Senator Schumer on keeping the government open last week?
Last one first. No, I think it was a mistake. I think you got to fight every place. And the first fight we had was the continuing resolution, and Schumer voted to go with the president. I think that was wrong. I think that empowered the president in multiple ways. With regard to Israel, I have for more than a year now said very clearly that the kind of weapons that Israel is using in Gaza are wrong. Those are weapons of significant destruction. And we saw this yesterday when Israel once again used 2,000-pound American bombs to kill 400 people, most of whom are civilians and children. It's unconscionable. It is wrong. The United States should not deliver those bombs and those kind of weapons to Israel. I have said also that Israel does have a right to defend itself, but it has no right to conduct the kind of mass destruction that we saw and have seen and saw just 2 days ago, actually a day and a half ago in Gaza. Wrong, should not happen. We should not allow those weapons to be delivered to Israel. Bradley, I think it's time for me to wrap.
It is, sir. And I am just going to remind everyone that links to all of the ways to keep in touch with our office and to send more comments in are in the chat. So please go ahead and copy and paste the things in the chat now, so that way you can continue to follow us. And a big thank you to the 900 people who are still on the call. And Congressman, I will leave it to you to close us out.
Bradley, thank you and the staff for making all of this a smooth operation. So to you and to all of them, and to all of you that have participated, and for the 900 or so that have stayed on, that's unusual. The drop-off is usually about 70% after the first 10 minutes. Thank you. It is extremely important that you engage. It's extremely important that you resist in every way you know. Take a sign, take a 16 by 12 sign, put your resistance on it, go down to the Social Security office, go down to the Veterans Administration office with 10 of your friends and protest. Obey the laws, do it the proper way. But protest, take photos, put those photos on the website, send them to us. We will also make sure that they are circulated all across this nation. And be sure to vote, be sure to register, and get involved, get engaged. We have never, ever in our nation's 250 years, seen anything like this. Yes, your programs that are at risk. Yes, your education. Yes, the transportation. The climate programs, all of those are at risk. But most important is Trump is acting in an unconstitutional way. He is using his power. He is assuming power that he does not have under the Constitution. You have to be engaged in every way possible. Join other programs. Be involved, be active all across this nation and in this district, and continue to let me know what you are doing. Thank you so very much, Bradley and team, and for all of you that were on, thank you for your engagement.